Before we get started, make sure you're wearing your headphones for maximum audio experience. Hello listeners, my name is Elle, and welcome to Rhyme and Reason. In today's episode, we'll be talking about mental health. But before we get started, I will warn you that this is a very sensitive topic for most people, and it may be triggering to some. I will be discussing what mental health is, 9 signs you should look out for to understand and know if you or a loved one has mental illness, and a few ways to help you recover from mental illness. If you feel like you will be triggered by these topics, please take care of yourself and click off this podcast now. Your well-being is very important to me and your loved ones. Let's get on with the episodes. As you may have noticed, we will not be joined by Sophia today. That's because she is currently busy being a chipmunk. And by chipmunk, I mean she has a very swollen gum. We're trying out a different format where once in a while we will do these kinds of solo episodes. Let us know if you like these types of episodes so that we can create more in the future. What is mental health? According to the World Health Organization, mental health includes our emotional, psychological, and social well-being. It affects how we think, feel, and act. It also helps determine how we handle stress, relate to others, and make healthy choices. A state of well-being in which every individual realizes his or her own potential, can cope with the normal stresses of life, can work productively and fruitfully, and is able to make a contribution to his or her community. Although the terms are often used interchangeably, poor mental health and mental illness are not the same thing. Our mental health is like being in a continuum. An individual cannot be classified immediately as mentally ill or mentally well. There are certain aspects and circumstances that help build or demolish an individual's mental well-being. For example, our genetic makeup and upbringing, life circumstances, and the stress we have in our daily lives have a huge impact to our mental health. When an individual is at their lowest point on the continuum, they fall in depression and anxiety. On the other side of the spectrum, we have positive mental health who are thriving, content, and fulfilled individuals. Being mentally healthy means an individual is resilient and is able to cope with difficult times. Having confidence in yourself and your capabilities are also signs that a person is mentally healthy. They can manage and express their emotions very well and can build and maintain relationships. Everyone feels emotions. However, when our emotions are severe enough that it literally disables our daily function and are persistent, then it can develop into a mental health problem. How will we know if we are mentally ill? There are signs that you need to look out for. Pay close attention to yourself and those around you for these signs. If you do find yourself displaying most of these signs, we will leave links below that could be of help to you. Number 1. You feel sad or depressed for more than 2 weeks. Everybody expresses sadness at some point, but it only takes 2 weeks for the feeling of sadness to fade away. But abnormally intense sadness that lasts more than a week can lead to depression. If you are unable to control your sadness or if it gets too heavy for you to shoulder, then you should seek help from a mental health professional. Number 2. Unexplainable mood swings. On a daily basis, people often experience positive emotions more than negative ones. It is normal for people to change moods every day, but these are signs that you need to look out for. Extremely dramatic mood swings can be dangerous, especially when it comes to the way you normally act. This can be a sign of bipolar disorder. The next sign of mental illness is having uncontrollable anxiety and when you worry too much. This may be a sign of anxiety disorder. Having problems relaxing, insomnia, racing thoughts, unexplainable aches and pains, or being easily irritated. If you feel these on most of your days for 6 months or so, then you should seek help from a mental health professional. Number 4. Isolating yourself from others. There is nothing wrong with spending a lot of time with yourself and away from others, but if you constantly make excuses to avoid socializing or anything you used to enjoy, then this may be a sign of mental illness, such as depression, anxiety, or psychotic disorder. Individuals isolate themselves to avoid contact from others because they feel as if they receive too much criticism or may receive criticism from others. Number 5. Hallucinations and delusions are one of the most obvious signs of mental illness. 3 out of 100 people will have a psychotic episodes as a symptom of mental or physical illness, such as schizophrenia or schizoaffective disorder. Number 6. Normal daily problems become more and more difficult for you to do. Everyone has those days where nothing goes right? I get those days sometimes when nothing goes right and it just frustrates me. But when you have a hard time functioning in normal situations for a number of weeks, then it is a major sign that you are going through something more than just a bad day. Number 7. Insomnia or hypersomnia. Having too little or too much sleep is a sign of mental illness. A study in Harvard Medical School stated that having too much or too little sleep is 3 times more common in people who suffer with mental illness. Number 8. Drug and alcohol abuse. Number 9 is very triggering for most of you, and you know what I'm talking about. If you ever feel this feeling, then you should reach out to a mental health professional as soon as possible. Remember, if you recognize any of these signs, remember that you are not alone, and it's not your fault that you are going through this. How do we recover from mental illness? There are a few ways to help you with your mental illness. The first step is often the hardest, but bear with me, and I will try to give you motivation to take that first step. You don't have to see the whole staircase. Just take the first step. A quote by Martin Luther King Jr. Step 1. Value yourself. For most people, this is very difficult, and I understand that, but take that first step to treat yourself better. Be kinder to yourself, and as much as possible, try to avoid criticizing yourself. Do something new. Learn an instrument. Learn a new language. Maybe even something as simple as taking care of a new plant can help you. Step 2. Think positive. All you have to do is think positive. Do this exercise as an example. Look at the mirror and say, I will be productive today. I am beautiful. I can do this. I am worth it. Or basically just anything that you want to hear someone say to you. Step 3. Notice the people around you and surround yourself with people you know will help you. It is time to cut ties with those friends who cause nothing but trouble. Remember that the attitude of the people you surround yourself with are infectious. If you surround yourself with good people, then you can be good too. But if you surround yourself with friends with bad habits, then these habits will become your habits. Step 4. Take care of your body. I mentioned last episode that taking care of yourself through working out and eating better can help you boost your self-confidence and self-esteem. Listen to episode 6 for more information about self-confidence and self-esteem. Step 5. Do not hesitate to ask for help. There is no greater agony than bearing an untold story inside of you. A quote by Maya Angelou. Asking for help doesn't make you weak. It just means that you need help from time to time. Everybody does. There's no shame in asking for help. Trust me. Step 6. Dance. Simply dance your heart out. Do not think about the people who might be watching. There will be people who will watch you dance, but they won't judge you. Because guess what? They do it too. Dancing is a way to express ourselves, and it is like a happy pill for everybody. Dancing is a part of human nature, and we should not suppress it. Just dance your heart out. Listen to music and follow the rhythm. I promise you, you will feel better. Step 7. Spend time with family and friends. Spending time with family and friends will make you happy, but if you don't have either, then don't worry, you are not alone. Making friends can be difficult, but like I said, it is only one step away. You see that barista in the cafe that you always go to? Start a conversation with them. Chances are they notice you too and want to have a connection with you. If not, then maybe try talking to that neighbor who always smiles at you when you both catch a glimpse of each other. Step 8. Try something new. Anyone who has never made a mistake has never tried anything new. This was a quote by Albert Einstein. Try something outside of your comfort zone. Chances are you will gain a new skill or hobby. This is a new segment that we will try and incorporate more into our future episodes. If you would like your questions featured, send us a direct message on Twitter. The link will be in the description below. From Twitter user Ainsley, that's EYNSL and 7 eyes. I have troubles when opening up to someone and I have anxiety. Anxiety attacks me every night and all I could do is cry. Are there other ways for my mental health to be quite stable without opening up to someone? And I'm pretty sure you have a prepared advice, but I'll state mine. From a person who is not mentally stable, please hold on and be strong. Look at me. I am still alive and kicking. We will be fine soon, okay? I love you. This is truly an inspiring message from Ainsley. And yes, these steps I mentioned earlier really revolves around you as an individual. Only you can take that first step that lead to better mental health. Just remember, once you take that first step, everything else will be relatively easy. Next question. This is a question from Sophia. Why do we tend to distance ourselves from people in times when we desperately need help? Like I said earlier, this is a sign of mental illness, depression, and anxiety. People isolate themselves from friends and family, not by choice but by circumstances. If you do find yourself in isolation from others, try to reach out to a friend. But I highly advise you to reach out to a mental health professional to seek help. Remember, everyone needs help. Even the history's greatest kings and queens need help before they became kings and queens. Now I'd like to give a shout out to Ainsley, Sophia, and Bea. Thank you, Ainsley, for sending your question and giving a wonderful advice to our listeners. Thank you, Sophia, for sending your question, and we hope you can join us on next week's episode. Hello, Bea. If you're listening to this, I'm glad you're listening to our podcast. Just to recap, remember to look out for the signs I mentioned, and if you do recognize these signs, we highly encourage you to seek help from professionals. Take that first step that will lead you to better mental health. Remember what I said? First steps are difficult, but once you take that first step, everything else will be relatively easy. That's Rhyme and Reason Podcast, where making sense just makes sense. Thank you for listening to Rhyme and Reason Podcast. You can support us by subscribing to our podcast on the Anchor app. Your support for our podcast will allow us to produce more interesting episodes in the future. If you like that episode, please hit that like and that subscribe button if you haven't already. Leave a comment down below to let us know what you think about the episode. Follow us on Twitter by clicking the link in the description. See you next time.